this when we watch the news, read the newspapers, I'm sure we all do. It appears the sky is falling. And we don't have people in Washington that are smart enough to look at Puerto Rico and Canada who have been where we are and knew enough to fix it, but maybe we will be able to fix it. But in our fishing world, the sky is not falling. When we look at the growth and the success of the collegiate fishing tournaments across the country and the high school fishing tournaments, this organization is doing what needs to be done to ensure the future of fishing and boating. And I think we'll have a better country because of the people that spend their time outdoors.
I was invited to join the 2011 Ranger Advantage Tour. I wanted to share my experiences and share some of the highlights of the tour. The Ranger Advantage Tour is actually three things. It is a chance to see new products. It's a chance to go test and run boats, motors. Ranger had their entire lineup launched, ready to go. Plenty of life vests. Jump in or come aboard and just check out the new products, check out what we got. Just an awesome kind of open house on the water of inventory session. It was also a chance for all the dealers and professional anglers and business partners to Ranger Boats to get together and talk. I learned a lot just hearing how the products were being shaped and what kind of innovation and creativity Ranger and their partners were driving. You know, when you've got that kind of integration, it makes a better product, a better boat. And I just learned a ton. The Ranger Advantage Tour is also a forum for the Ranger Dealer Network, Ranger Boats, the fishing media and industry, the professional tournament fishing organizations, professional anglers, and all to get in one room and get on the same page, to get caught up on what's new, how to talk about products, how to talk about service, support, warranty, rigging. Just an interesting forum. I thought it was a real healthy thing that Ranger Boats is doing, getting everyone in the same room. It's a family atmosphere. The final part to the Ranger Advantage Tour was an actual tour of the factory. Are you ready for a plant tour of Ranger Boats? Grab your headset, get on board the bus, and let's get going. Now take a minute and get your headset and safety goggles adjusted. Be warned, it can get noisy. There's a lot of heavy machinery operating, a lot of people working, a lot of chemicals and other things going on at a boat factory. But what you see here is the embroidery shop. This is where they cut out, sew together, glue on, stitch, patch, anything from the carpeting and mats to the, trailering, the non-skid. You notice the seats, the boat covers. All that work happens here. These gals can match any stitching, any colors, any patterns, anything that they've ever done in the history of their boat. So they tell us that going back to 1968, anything that any boat's ever been produced with, this upholstery shop can match it and refurbish it. And then we got to look at research and development, how Ranger Boats is constantly creating new designs and new models and blueprinting boats and hulls and top caps and, making new molds or additional molds or fine-tuning things. And, that's important. These are boats, and there's just a bazillion different variations and designs and, all the science behind it. Look at this stuff. Clear as mud, right? But glad they do it. You're all right. Pultrusion. It's a favorite word around Ranger Boats. This is where you create a composite material through running a fiber like a fiberglass through some sort of a resin, compressing it and doing special things to it so that on the other side of all this, this hard composite material comes out and it can be used in place of, say, wood. As we toured the Ranger boat factory, Pultrusion was just a common word. It was a common component of every Ranger boat. Now here's the finished product. So it goes in as that fiberglass. It goes through that bath of resin. I don't know what happens other than pressure, heat, and special things. But on the other side, here comes this super hard, lightweight, amazing strength material that is used all over Ranger boats. For example, the pultruded material is what makes up the frame and the framing, a lot of the transom. This is where you attach that big giant motor to. Extra strong and extra reliable. Next, we visited the Ranger boat trailer department. Here a gentleman is injecting a mold for making the fenders on the Ranger trailer. The fenders come out in one big piece and of course are cut apart, and the finished product is actually two pieces. But just interesting to see the amount of work and the crew and the resources dedicated to just building the Ranger trailers. Most times the trailer is just an afterthought. It's great to see this much effort and work go into the actual Ranger trailer. And right next door to the fender shop was the actual trailer shop, where a lot of framing and welding and heavy lifting, guys hanging bunks and hanging axles and all kinds of dangerous looking tools flying around. But you definitely get the sense from everyone that they're glad to see you there. They're glad to have their clients, their dealers in their house. I mean, that says a lot when you're just totally comfortable with the job you do, to just come on, bring your camera, get right up close and personal to our work. Just amazing. I really learned a lot. Really enjoyed going on this tour. How's this new addition to the Ranger trailers? A parking brake, so you can unhook it and your trailer won't roll away. Just awesome to see Ranger continuing development and innovation, even with their trailers. Now this is where the boats are actually built. This is the fiberglass shop and finish shop side of the house. This is where the boats are actually, molded. The different components are cut out. The two halves are glued together. And all kinds of things going on this side of the house, especially when it comes to fiberglass and resin work and putting together the internal pieces, the internal frame of the boat. Now this is actually glassing in the top cap of a boat. This is actually the negative or the inverse of the top cap. So the underside of the cap is what he is painting, for lack of better terms, on right now, or glassing in. I mean, look at the equipment this guy's using and operating. Pretty impressive. Again, more molds and fiberglassing. Here's a hole about to be laid. You can see all the prep work, the taping, the amount of care these guys put in to make sure that these things are done right and done right the first time, and of course, are quality done. Once the top caps get pulled out of the molds, they go in this special room that has a robotic, high-pressured cutting tool. This tool does precision cuts and gets that top cap mostly ready. Gets it mostly ready for action. I mean, these are really precision cuts that, anything from the splash well to the holes for wiring, to the handles, to any of the accessories that go on the boat. And then it's about getting the bottom cap, the actual hull, ready to go. Notice all the pultrusion that makes up the bilge area. This is that super, incredibly strong material that Ranger uses to create the bilge and create the framing for which the top cap sits. It's also the material that is used for the transom and the stringers and providing strength in the back. Here's pultrusion being used to reinforce where the butt seat and the seating and where you stand. This is super strong material, and like I say, it's used all over the place in Ranger boats. They reinforce the edges of the live wells and the lids and reinforce any weak spot with this pultrusion material. The only wood you'll find in Ranger boats is the Forest L wood name on the side of the boat. Everything that isn't fiberglass and resin is pultrusion. Once both halves of the boat are ready, the top cap, bottom cap are laid, glass, plumbed, and as much prep work has been done as can be done, that's when the boat starts coming together. Literally, the two halves are fitted together like some giant puzzle piece. I think it was safe to say this wasn't these boys' first rodeo. And then finally over to the finish room. This is where the boat really starts to take shape, where all the different parts and pieces of the boat come together to make a final product. The electrical, the plumbing, the carpeting, actual hanging the engine, the electronics, the trolling motors, the batteries. All that comes together in this room and on this line. A lot of people working. Hey look, more pultrusion. The foot pedal. Guys hanging motors. Just an amazing factory atmosphere. I mean, literally finished boats coming off that line on a regular basis. All kinds of quality and related metrics and measurements and safety things going on all the time. It's just a real fun place to watch, these boats evolving and all the different series of boats, not just bass boats, but all of the Ranger line. And then the last thing that we notice happen, they get a little test tank, a little float, make sure that everything's good to go. And once they pass the tank test, they're loaded on their trailer, and they're out, literally wheeled out to the front door, ready to be distributed to their dealers.
I can tell you the numbers they told me, and it was just, if I told, if you went down the street and telling people that more and more people are fishing FOW than ever before, it's way up in the double-digit increases this year in all the tournament, you wouldn't believe it. But it is, and it's happening. It's kind of happening behind the scenes. It's happening in spite of what's going on around us in the economy. And there's a lot of good things to talk about. We don't just, we're not just blowing smoke. We love what we do, and I know you do too. When I say we, I'm talking about you, because you are a part of our family. And I hope above everything else that when you're here on the premises and you talk to each of our employees, and visit amongst the FLW or other tournament organizations all the way to the West Coast. I see you everywhere. I hope that one thing rings true, is that we are family, we have one objective, and that is to supply product and services to an organization, to a marketplace that really does make a difference in the country, I believe. I think that Forrest has said it before, that he believes fishermen, people out on the water, make better citizens, and I think that's true. It's just a good group.
I have a vested interest in Ranger boats because, well, I'm a client. I'm a big fan of Ranger. I'm a big fan of bass fishing. Bass fishing and Ranger boats are synonymous. There's so much intertwined history and heritage. The two go hand in glove. I hope you learned something more about Ranger boats, how the boats are built, what they're doing to support their dealers and their network, and what they're doing to continue to lead and innovate going forward.